All right. So if you could let everyone know who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I'm Charlie. I work in business development and in marketing. I've done so for the last 20 plus years. And right now, I'm actually doing a little bit of content creation, trying to reinvent myself and see where
Oh,
that leads.
really? What are you using? Because
Yep.
I seen you post on X. That's how I found you. I seen you were in marketing, and I wanted to talk to you because I uh I got a marketing job in Miami last year. Marketing. I went there and they put me on a street corner harassing people, and I that wasn't what I envisioned. You know what I'm saying? And like I've been on and off with drop shipping and marketing products with video, not successful at all. So I was wondering how you got into marketing. Did you go to college or how did that look?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, marketing is one of those funny things. We can get into it later. It covers all sorts of sins. Sales, direct sales, um, inbound marketing, outbound marketing, harassing people. But yeah, I actually got into marketing because I really looked up to my dad. He was in marketing for all of his life. He went to school in the States. I went to school in the States as well, and I studied international business. And so my career has been a combination of sales and marketing. I mean, I guess they go hand in hand. Some people tend to look at them separately, but they go together. In fact, one of the co-founders of HubSpot, which is one of the major CRM systems and email automation or marketing automation systems out there, he coined the phrase "smarketing" because it's sales and marketing all together. You can't really have one without the other.
Okay, so you said your dad was in marketing. So what company
Yes,
did he work for?
he worked for a large pharmaceutical company called Warner Lambert. That company got bought out by Pfizer. It was a funny company because they had three different divisions. One was the pharmaceutical side, which did Lipitor, which is why Pfizer ended up buying the company. They had what they called over the counter, which was Benadryl, Caladryl, Sinotab, Listerine. A lot of well-known products that I think they're owned today by Johnson and Johnson, I think. And then they have the confectionery division, which was the fun one that I enjoyed growing up because it had all the major brands like Adams Chiclets, Dentine, Trident, Bubbaloo, Bubblicious, Halls. They all belonged to Warner Lambert, and I always had those growing up at home. So yeah, he was in marketing, and he retired early when the company was bought out by Pfizer.
Oh yeah, did he own a piece of it?
Well, no, he didn't own a piece of it, but it's one of those situations where he was in such a good position in the corporate ladder that he got like 4 years of compensation, 4 years of executive bonuses and everything because his position was eliminated when Pfizer bought it out. So it was they gave him a really good golden parachute basically when, so he retired when he was 51.
That's a good deal.
That's a
So
very good deal.
so did that inspire you to go to school and become a marketer just growing up with your dad doing that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I always thought it was fun how you could get products in front of people and just either make them aware of that your product is there, or actually generate uh, the the desire for people to purchase your products. Like one of the things that I learned early is when you place the product in front of people, um, you're generating that awareness. Like, hey, like that's why you have the gum and the chocolate. They're usually at the checkout counters in the supermarkets because they're usually what they're called impulse buy, right? So you see them and you want them. You go into the store and you're not really thinking of buying a pack of gum, but if you see it, you're like, might as well. So
Especially
it's
when you're just waiting there and it's right there for you to grab.
absolutely,
Eh,
absolutely. You see your TikToks or whatever, and you're like, yeah, might as well.
well, actually, too, I remember I was in Walmart years ago, and uh, if if you're at the front at the checkout line, the candy is priced higher than if you go to the candy aisle.
Yeah. They have
I was
different
like, that's
formats.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have different formats. They have like the individual ones, and if you look at the per unit cost, is a lot higher than if you just go and buy the whole display or the whole pack back there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like,
absolutely.
that's smart as hell. I noticed that. And then yeah, marketing, what intrigues me about it, at least with like social media marketing, it's creative. You know, it's a route for
Exactly.
creative people to take. Sales, I've never been good at for some reason. So when you went to school for marketing, so you learned both in school, right?
I guess sales is actually it's one of those things they don't really teach in universities, just because marketing and finance have this, bigger glamour around them. Sales, you actually have to go out there and develop it yourself. But you're basically selling always. If like my first job out of school was at an advertising agency, a direct marketing agency, actually. It's a direct marketing company, and I had I mean, I was basically a junior account manager, but it wasn't only the day-to-day ongoing projects. I mean, we had to sell them more projects, or we had to upsell them on certain projects, so that we would be able to build more. And then from there, I went also as an account executive to work with American Express, and that was basically maintaining the relationship with the different establishments. But again, you had to sell them on marketing programs, you had to sell them on training programs. It was basically, having them promote the use of the card in their establishments. Like, we're happy to accept American Express. So it's basically, you have to sell. I mean, everything is a matter of sales. I mean, like, even you asking me to come in here, you had to sell me that it was going to be a marketing podcast. So we're selling all the time. We just don't realize it.
Right. Well, so I'm wondering, like, for the job, right? For US Express, you're meeting with other companies. Like, your daily schedule would be, what would your boss tell you? Okay, you have to go meet with him, pitch him this kind of, like, what was the
Uh,
job actually like?
With American Express, it was basically, I had a certain group of accounts that billed between $300,000 and $3 million with American Express. And when we had marketing programs coming up, like the Golden Circle restaurants, for example, this is a marketing program that it doesn't really cost them anything to sign up for, but it promotes the use of the card. So basically, it was one, the Golden Circle restaurants was when you went with your gold card or your platinum card. The Centurion card didn't exist then. You would pay for one main course, and you would get the second one of equal or lesser value for free. But then the idea here is that people go to the restaurant and they're so excited that they're going to save money on one of the main courses, that they order extra appetizers, they order that a nicer bottle of wine or extra desserts. So it was something that was quite interesting. And then with other restaurants, I mean, with other kinds of establishments, you just sold them positioning themselves on the. There used to be like a monthly insert in the statements. The statements now are digital, so that wouldn't really work. But it was basically having us sign up our accounts so that they would promote their business to American Express card holders. But it was really a win-win. We got them to increase their sales with American Express, and they got to increase their sales overall. So yeah.
Okay, so they hire you, and you guys are a team, right? And you
Mm.
sit there, a company would come to you for marketing, and you guys come up with a campaign and like what benefits, like you said, like you had to think of this, like that people are going to use the card, go out, be excited, and then buy, like you said, nicer bottle of wine or something.
Yeah, well,
Like,
I mean, I was working directly for them, for American Express. This was after I worked in the advertising agency. So basically, yeah, we were the ones that were out there getting the accounts that already accepted American Express. But basically, following up with them. Hi, how are you? Is everything working out fine? If there were restaurants, we would give them the check presenters. If they were, electronic store, we would try to give them some sort of fancy looking gadget that they would give to special clients, or that they could portray their. The thing is, get your brand out there so that people remember that, oh, hey, this guys accept American Express, let me just pay with my card. And to the day, I still use American Express. I mean, this was like 20 something years ago, and I still use American Express. So that's how
So
loyal I
from
am.
there, where did you go after American Express?
From there, I went to work for Miller Brewing Company. I was sales manager for the Caribbean, and that was quite an experience because I didn't have experience before working with distributors. And I was managing 12 distributors around the Caribbean. It was fun because I got to travel. You know, I had the Caribbean
Yeah.
and Bermuda, which is not part of the Caribbean; it's Atlantic, but it was part of my territory, to promote the sale of beer, to do programs with supermarkets, with on premise, which is the restaurants and all that, come up with super fun stuff like in the USVI, the US Virgin Islands. That was one of my largest markets. We came up with this Miller Lite Summer Concert Series. So where we sponsored local bands and the beer was on happy hour to promote it with the grassroots accounts, if you will. It was interesting. It was a challenge though, but it was interesting.
So what was hard about that? That sounds like a really fun compared to American Express.
Oh, it was a lot more fun. But the thing is, I was fighting against two giants, or three giants in those markets, which were Coors Light, had a lot more budget and sold more than Miller Lite, Heineken, and in some cases it was Guinness, and in other cases it was Bud Light. So you're basically selling share of mind with the establishment owners, right? So you want to make sure that your beer is there and that they think of you and that they say, hey, Charlie comes here every month. The Coors Light guy doesn't, and I take care of them. And if there's expired beer by any chance, we exchange it, no problem, no cost to them. We always try to do fun things with them. The end caps, as they call it, for summer we would have like that, create these promotions where you would have the typical beach chairs and the umbrellas and volleyballs, and just make sure that the clients there got all these goodies and all this stuff when they purchase their beer. So what they want to see really is rotation. They want Beer is one of those things where it's volume with a profit. And the profit is not, the margins are not as big as liquor, but the key there is volume. Just keep it moving. And in fact, at Miller they had this saying that said, keep it dark, keep it cool, keep it moving. So that it stayed fresh and offer the drinker the optimal experience.
So how do you coordinate those kind of events, like you said, sponsoring local bands and stuff? Who do you contact to get your product?
Well, I visited the markets depending on. So here's the thing. I had 12 distributors, and every distributor had a budget. And we look back at the sales from years before. In fact, my position was a hot seat. Like nobody was there for more than 18 months because they probably didn't even know what to do with the markets. So we looked at it and we said, what? Why does every distributor have a budget? I mean, some of them they don't really do anything with it. So when we looked at the market as a region as a whole, we realized that the top four markets were doing 78% of the volume. So we said, what? Let's refocus and let's do all the budget here. We hired four brand managers that reported to me. They were there all the time, but I still kept visiting them. Like I went to the Bahamas every 2 months, which was my second largest market. I went to the Cayman Islands about 4 or 5 times a year. The USVI every single month I was there, and then Aruba was another market where I went 4 or 5 times a year. But basically, it was to give an about face to make sure that, because back then we didn't have all this virtual conference calls or anything like that. So I spoke on the phone basically with this is the year 2002 2004. So I spoke on the phone with my brand managers, and I had to believe that they were executing what they promised they were executing. But then you could see it when you went to the market. You see it. You saw it. You saw that there was execution. That the beer was fresh. That we weren't losing space in the in the aisle where the beer is. You saw, in fact, that the promotions were being executed. So it's a matter of managing the relationship with the clients and with your brand managers, and just making sure that everything is rolled out.
Okay, so basically, like you just said, you're managing relationships. and then you judge the execution based on how much space the clients are allowing you to have in the store.
Which in turn, that turns into sales. I mean, you see the impact on the
Right.
sales. I mean, we had, if I can remember correctly, I think it was like sales were declining 7 to 10% a year for years. And then like the first year we saw an arrest in the decline of sales, and then the second year we saw sales go up like 15-20%, and then the third year it was like 37% increase in sales. So it was a good plan. I mean, you upset some of the distributors because they were like, "Wow, now I don't have any budget." It's like, yeah, but you move 5,000 cases of beer a year. I have another distributor that moves 75,000, which is not a lot if you compare it to the U.S. market. But for a market the size of the U.S. Virgin Islands, 75,000 cases of beer, that's a lot of beer.
Why'd you leave there, man? You're in the Bahamas all the time.
You know what? I was traveling a lot, and I was married to my first wife then, and we thought it was a good idea for me to stop traveling, and because I got offered to go to become a client advisor to sell BMWs in the only authorized dealership in Puerto Rico, because I was obsessed with BMWs at the time. And I actually made a lot more money selling BMWs, but it was a career mistake because the stigma around car salesmen, it doesn't matter if it's luxury vehicles or not, there's a stigma that, they're kind of tricky, right? And that's actually what prompted me to get my MBA, because, when I tried to switch jobs out of the selling BMWs, it was, everyone's like, yeah, but you're a car salesman. I'm like, yeah, but I just spent 4 years managing a Caribbean region with 12 distributors, selling. I sold $4 million. It was $4 million in sales, and I had a marketing budget of around $800,000 a year that I managed. And but once you get that seal of car salesman, so it was a mistake back then. But hey, we all make mistakes, and it's up to us to just like reroute your career and take control, and make the best you can do out of it.
Well, plus you must have learned a lot from the car sales. Did you learn anything selling those cars that helped you later on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, well, I mean, up until that point, one of the things that I learned is that you have to follow up with clients, or potential clients. You think that even when they say, yes, I'm going to buy the car, I'll be back in 2 days, you have to follow up. Not necessarily because they're lying to you or anything like that. It's just that when you think about it, they go on about their daily lives, and buying a car is not a priority to everyone, even though they're interested. And if you don't follow up with them, it could be that somebody tells them, "Hey, why don't we just pop into the Mercedes-Benz dealership?" And the guy ends up buying another car, and you lost that client. And that's a client that you lose for at least 3-4 years before they change their cars. So following up with clients is key. It's something that you have to. And the other thing is, you have to keep your promise when you when you offer things. When you're in sales.
Oh, but like what? Like, what's an example of that?
Oh,
Not keeping.
oh, Well, like, for example, we didn't have inventory in the dealership at all, and it could be that they usually had to order the car in Germany, and it took about 3 months to get there. And there would be the occasion where someone would come in and ask, let's say, do you have a 325 with sports package arriving? And we could say, yeah, well, we have one, but it's already, it's pre-sold. Not pre-sold, they just left a deposit, whatever. And then you would have somebody say, like, well, I'll pay 3 grand on top of what you sold it for. And it's very easy to feel tempted like that, but you have to keep your word, because you told your client that your car was going to be there in 3 months. You can't just call them up and say, "Hey, your car is going to be delayed by 3 weeks." So it's
Yeah.
it's it's
Yeah.
it's keeping your word, keeping your promise, basically.
So how long did you sell those BMWs for?
2 years, 2 years, and it was one of those jobs where it was fun for a while, but then yeah, I had to work every Saturday, and it was one of those things. It was a funny thing. We worked from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon on Saturdays, and like right after lunch, the dealership would die down. Not a single client. And then at 4:45, you would have clients flooding in just to check out the cars. And the thing is that you made commission on those cars. Like you had to stay there. It's money that you're throwing away if you just decide to pack up and leave. Because chances are that
Well,
they were gonna buy.
you said people were flooding in around 4:30 or whatever it was. Are all those people? How do you distinguish who's there just to look at a car and who's actually going to buy?
That's a very good question. You can assume you can train your eye, but I would say the best thing is to try approach the potential client, ask a few key questions. Like, for example, if you see somebody going in and saying, I'm undecided, I want to buy, I'm thinking about a Z4 and an X5. You're like, come on, dude, you're talking about a two-door a roadster, a two-seat roadster, and a family SUV. You knew that person wasn't buying. But if somebody went in and said, I'm looking at the 530, and I wonder what I keep hearing about sports package and premium package. You explain it to them, and you could see it. I mean, there's that look in their eyes saying like, and then, but you have to take care of everyone that comes in. There's actually a pretty funny story. One afternoon, this gentleman comes in, and he was dressed in like a rapper style, all dressed in white with a New York Yankees hat, brand new. And I see that my coworkers didn't want to take care of him. Like, I'm like, are you guys crazy? And I start talking to the guy, and the guys are looking at me like, you're wasting your time, Charlie, man. And I'm like, yeah. Well, it ends up that guy was the brother-in-law of Daddy Yankee, the reggaeton artist, right? And I ended up selling a BMW 750 to Daddy Yankee for $123,000. And then my friends were like, "What? You just got so lucky?" And I'm like, "Nah, I took care of the client. You guys were thinking I was wasting my time. I ended up selling to a celebrity.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, how much commission do you get off a car like that?
It depended. It depended on the car, but on average, like $500 per car. But the thing is that in
How
that
often do you?
sorry.
How many cars do you usually sell a week? If like you personally, how much? Because that's a
Uh
lot of money if you can do volume.
yeah, I mean, we had to sell a minimum of 10 cars, and it was weird because some months I would sell 8 cars, and another month I would sell 17. So it depended, but it is good money. And there's also uh, sometimes some cars have like dealer incentive if the car's like not moving enough. And usually you can play around with that incentive that the factory gives you to lower the price of the car. But in a market like BMW, you didn't really need to lower the price. So what ended up happening was that the car had a larger margin, and you could end up making $1,000 for selling a car.
Do you recommend that for people just getting a start in sales, selling
Oh yeah, I
cars?
mean,
Is that like a good way to learn?
yeah, car sales is a great way to test your passion for sales. It's also a great way to test your devotion to your clients, if you will. Uh, there's a guy that was a legend I think it was at a General Motors dealership. The guy was like the person that sold the most, but this guy took down every client's name, every client's children's name. He would write them a birthday card whenever, every year after year. And he just had the clients coming back and referring people. I mean, the guy was selling, I don't know, something like 100 cars a month or something like that. I mean, the guy was a legend. I forget his name, but yeah,
That's
that's
nuts.
basically. It's a good place to get started in sales.
After that, what you went back to the marketing, the big
I,
companies?
yeah, Yeah, after that, I well, actually I got my MBA in a business school here in Spain, and then I went to work for Gallo Winery, and I was there for a year, and then I returned to Spain, uh, and then I went to work in education in admissions, but it's basically a sales position, which is very challenging because you have to, fill the quota of students that you need to enroll in that program, but they have to have a certain level because this is like one of the top universities here in Spain. So it's challenging. It's not like, oh, here, take my money, I'm coming in. You have to actually screen them and select them, but you also have your sales quotas that you need to meet. It's interesting.
Is that what you're doing right now, or no?
No, 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 no. Right now, I'm working in business development in an architecture studio. Um it's something that I'm looking for a change because it's not an industry that I'm very knowledgeable of. I'd love to go back into education, but I'm actually looking to become a full-time creator. You know.
What do you do content wise? Are you teaching people marketing, business development, sales?
It's a good question. I'm actually working with a coach who tells me that I should get into it, especially because I've done so many sales emails throughout my career, um, but working for other people. So basically, I haven't offered it as client work, and that's what I he recommends that I do, and that's what I'm working on. Coming up with an offer, coming up with which clients to work with. But I basically got into content creation as a form of therapy. After my divorce, if you see all of my content, it's actually advice I would give to myself 5 years ago to avoid ending up where I ended up, hitting rock bottom last year. And it seems to resonate with a lot of people because I get a lot of engagement, a lot of interaction with it. So I'm happy. I'm happy there.
But would you talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind? Like just the journey from how you got to that rock bottom, and then how you use content to pull that yourself out of that.
Well, it was actually the way it happened was I was super sad, and I got into a depression for many months when my ex-wife asked for a divorce, and I felt like I would never smile again. I was like, I really wish that there was someone there or that I could find content that like what I write now to find to ensure, to make sure that there were going to be brighter days ahead. So what happened was, like, one day, in January of this year, I said I've had enough, and I started reading intensively about and extensively about our emotions. A few books that come to mind. I've read like over 30 books this year. One of them is What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Chad Helmstetter. Fantastic book. Another one is Stop Overthinking by Nick Trenton. Great book. The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. An amazing book as well. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. And when you start reading these books and you start seeing yourself reflected on them, yeah, it's like you get into them and you get lost, and you're like, huh, I could write about this. And that's where I get most of my inspiration to write my tweets. It's actually from reading them and understanding. I'm like, so that's how our brain works. That's why I reacted like this, or that's why, you keep on telling I'm stupid, I'm dumb, and whatever, and you end up believing it, right? So you learn about, like, the mindset conditioning and the mindset reframing and reprogramming your brain, and it's quite interesting because I find myself 7 months or 8 months later, after I started reading that much, I find that I look at things in a very different way. I mean, even people around me say, like, hey, you've become a lot more chill about things. You're like more objective, more relaxed, more. And I think this is something that everybody should do. I mean, we should pursue that wisdom, if you will, that is in the books, to compare it to what your life has been, or what your life has been. Learn from that and act in the present. It's been, to me, it's been a fantastic journey personally.
So would you say you're getting really into psychology now?
Um, It's a bit of psychology. I wouldn't call it. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm becoming a psychologist, but yeah, human psychology is something that we should all study, because when you think about it, nobody prepares you to face tough times. Nobody prepares you to be resilient. And these are words that sound so foreign to many people, and they shouldn't. Everybody should be ready to face tough times, because they are going to be there. Life does not get any easier. You just grow stronger. That's the way it is. you know uh you learn so much about yourself. You discover the things that really matter. Like before, I would my in during my off time, I was just playing in my tablet, wasting my time, and I had my kids around me saying, "Dad, let's play." And I was playing that stupid, I'm not going to say the name of the candy game that you crush. But
Yeah.
and I didn't realize that how much time I was wasting. And now I'm so self-aware of that when I'm with my kids, no tablet, no nothing. But I realized that by reading and by you know becoming self-aware of our actions, your quality of life, like everyone's quality of life, would improve a lot if you became a little more self-aware. If you start with self-love, which I know sounds a little bit like woo woo, but it's the first step. I mean, when you think about it, think about when you go into a plane, and they're giving the safety instructions. So they tell you, in the case of a lack of oxygen, the masks will deploy. Put your mask on and then help others. Well, that's the way it is in life. If you're down in
Yeah.
the gutter emotionally or mentally, there's no way you can help anyone or love anyone, for that matter.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. You can't pour from an empty cup. That's it. So yeah. So in
I'm
that sense, to
surprised
me,
that they didn't talk about. Sorry, I'm surprised they don't talk about psychology and all of that in marketing in college.
they do, but
Is
they
that
took
not a big part of it?
they do, but they look at it. I mean, it's changed a lot from the time I went to college. There are actually what used to be one class called consumer behavior. It's actually a whole master's program in some universities, right? And then they study that part of the psychology. They study the reciprocity. They study all these kinds of things that you can find in the book from Robert Cialdini, Influence. Uh, it's changed, so they teach it, but you have to go to very specific programs. But yeah, I mean, I think we should all delve a little deeper into psychology to understand how how we relate to others in society, how marketing works, how sales work. It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting because that there are things that you discover, like we buy our many products with our heart, with our emotions, and then we use our brains to rationalize our purchase. Oh yeah, this was a good buy. Oh yeah, because when in the end, if you started rationalizing first and then stopping your emotions, you probably wouldn't have bought that product to begin with.
Do you believe that any product is marketable? Do you think it's more about how you sell the product and not what the product is?
I don't know if any product, but I mean, think about it this way. They sell all sorts of things that you would say, I'm like, my God, this thing sells. I mean, like from silly putty to to slime to you know and
Silly
some
putty.
companies, yeah, some companies just have the ability to create this kind of urgency in you being part of their community or their client or feeling special. Like, if you think about it, iPhone owners, they feel special that they're part of the iPhone owners club. Yeah, but there's a billion iPhone owners club. There's nothing special about being, but the way Apple projects it and the way they sell it, and the way they own the name for anything, for everything. Like, we call it Apple Music, and everyone's like, "Hey, Apple Music." We call it Apple Intelligence. Hey, Apple Intelligence. And it's just the way they market it. And marketing is an art. Marketing is an art, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm an Apple fanboy, and I remember those old commercials when the iPad or iPod was big, it was like for creative musical people. So
Uh-huh.
automatically, if you're creative, you're going to be drawn to it, just because they're just those commercials. And like, I know what they're doing to me, but it's so fun to even be involved with it. And then, yeah, yeah, it's fun to think about. I love just learning about marketing because it's so, uh, it's that just that creative thing. But what I don't get is how you take, like, I understand the iPhone because when that came out, like, it was a good product, like everyone had Blackberries at the time and Razor flip
Yeah.
phones and stuff, so it was new. But like, what really got me into products was when I was in high school. Do you know what animal bands are?
Animal bands rings a bell, but no. What
They
are
were
they?
rubber bands. They were rubber bands shaped like animals. Every
Okay.
single person in high school wore a bunch of them. You go to the mall, buy them anywhere. I heard that guy became a millionaire because of these rubber bands shaped like animals. I was like, there's no way. So like, is that something you need a team for? Like, I don't understand. If you were going to market those, how do you make those blow up like they did?
Well, I mean, they there are several ways you can use focus groups to test products and see if they're gonna have they're gonna be well taken by the market. But sometimes people just have great ideas that are simple, and before you know it, like whoever invented koozies to keep cans cool, you know, it's a probably didn't patent it, but how many koozies do you see out there? Everybody owns a koozie. I mean, I own a koozie, right? Even if it's for just for your soda can. Those animal bands. I mean, there's this little pieces of plastic toy or rubber toys here in Spain called super things, and it's amazing. They're like 80 cents, but there's 80 of them, and they release a new batch 3 times a year. So you know how much money I spend on that thing for my kids because they want to collect them all, and it's silly. They don't do anything. They're just like a little guy that ate a pizza, and now he's the pizza crazy guy, troll kind of looking. Somebody came up with this thing, and it's they're making millions, and everybody, and since there's so many of them, if you buy them, you can buy them repeat because they're in plastic bags where you can't see what's inside. But that makes it so cool. So then the kids, they use it like trading cards, like your baseball cards. They trade them. Like, the kids are crazy over that. It's amazing what they do. So yeah, you can
Yeah, it's like
market any
Pokemon
product.
cards when I was a kid.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was like Pokemon cards when I
Yeah.
was a kid. You just buy a
Exactly.
pack, you have no idea what's in it. And
Yeah, exactly. So
God,
I
they
mean,
must have made so much money with that.
yeah, you would have thought that in this day and age, the digital age, that rubber toys would be a thing of the past. Well, no, you know. So yeah, I would say almost every product is marketable as long as it's not obviously ridiculously, useless.
When you go through the store or you see advertisements online, do you, just because of your history in marketing, do you constantly think, ooh, I like the way they're marketing that, or I see a different angle?
Oh yeah, actually, there's a few things that have stuck with me. Like when I used to work in the beer business, I had to check the price of every single SKU, the stock keeping unit, right? So I had to check like the Miller Lite 10-ounce cans, the Miller Lite 12-ounce cans, the Miller Lite 12-ounce bottle, and I had to check it for all of the competition in every single market, in every single store. So one of the things I realize now is how they play around with package size, uh, and they play around with the pricing, right? So you see, like sometimes there's this family pack pricing, and it's exactly the same price per ounce as the regular one. It's just the bigger container. They're just trying to get you to take more volume home, right? with the marketing, the same thing. You're like, I see what you're doing there. You know it. It's, that when you go into a store that has shiny floors and it's very well lit, that's going to be expensive, right? When you walk into a store and it smells like heaven because they use these diffusers to aromatherapy, they're trying to sell you more expensive stuff. It's you're very aware of that when you're in marketing and sales. Absolutely.
Do you find it odd that most people aren't aware of that?
Uh, I don't find it odd, and that's the leverage that marketers have. That people are not aware of what they're doing to them. Like, I don't know if you've been to Walt Disney World in Orlando, but when you enter Magic Kingdom, the first thing you notice is this strong smell of muffins, and what they have is a little muffin store that has fans blowing artificial smell of muffins so that you go in and you buy the muffins. Many people don't realize it. I know it because I know that's how it works, but many people are like, those muffins smell so good, let's go get them, right? They're completely unaware.
It's crazy though, because marketing is such like everyone does it, right? Like when you're a kid in high school, you have all your cliques, and I was like part of the punk scene type of clique, and like that's what we're doing is we're marketing, right? Like
Yeah,
the clothes
absolutely.
we wear, the music we listen to, all of that, you're marketing yourself. And
Absolutely.
it's kind of like a bad word to say in like the music scene. Anything about business is like a bad word, but all these bands, they're the biggest marketers. The
Oh
way
yeah.
they dress themselves and act and everything, the tattoos, the piercings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The term personal brand gets thrown around a lot, right? You have to build a personal brand. You have to build a personal brand. I know that when they're talking about building a personal brand, they're talking about creating a presence online. But your personal brand is you. No matter, it doesn't matter what you do. If you want to dress all in black, that's your personal brand, and you don't have to do anything special to create a personal brand. If you want to wear all clothes by Polo Ralph Lauren, that's your personal brand. You're the Polo Ralph Lauren guy. So no matter what you do, you are going to define a personal brand, but it just gets tossed around now like it's something new. Everybody has a personal brand. Everybody has always had it. John Bon Jovi has his personal brand.
Yeah, it's how you present yourself.
What's that?
It's how you present yourself to the world.
Exactly. It's how you present
That's
yourself. Exactly.
all a personal
Exactly.
brand is.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Do you think you've marketed in a lot, from the American Express cards to beer to cars. Do you think if you learn marketing in one area, it applies all across the board?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the there are some essentials that are transferable across the board. Like even when people refer to like B2B or B2C, when you're selling B to business, business to business, there's a person behind that business. So you're not really selling to the business. You're selling to the person that works for that business. Um, what what is different though is the approach that you have to take, because the brand has an essence and the brand has a value story behind it usually. And you're not going to sell, let's say, chewing gum like you sell uh, Starbucks, right? Because chewing gum is, for fresh breath, for on the go, whatever, when you can't, floss or whatever. And Starbucks is more of an experience kind of thing. But yeah, there's always the enticing the customer, the creating the awareness that your product exists, and establishing the trust with the customer, and the selling to the customer, and then getting them to be loyal customers. And in fact, those are the customers that you want to go after. It's it's a lot easier to get a customer to be a repeat customer than to get a new customer that doesn't know you, and a lot less expensive.
Have you ever tried thinking about making your own product and selling it? Because I mean, marketing, that's all the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
If
It's
you know
one of
how to
the
market, then
Yeah, it's one of those things
yeah. So,
that you get stuck thinking, yeah, but what kind of product would I come up with, right? It's 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 where you get stuck overthinking, like, what would I sell, there's fierce competition in a lot of industries. Like, what am I going to sell? Keyboards, wireless keyboards? Well, good luck, buddy. But yeah, I mean, I've thought about it, but it's probably easier for me to sell services, like my knowledge, like sales coaching, like, you know marketing strategy, branding strategy. That's probably easier than selling a physical product for me.
but when you do content, you're selling yourself essentially, right? And then are you? I know you're posting on X because that's where I've seen you. But are you doing like video content on YouTube or just shorts on Instagram and TikTok?
No, not yet. I don't know if eventually I'll get there, because I just started again. I started in April posting content, and I post a lot of content because I reply to a lot of people, and that becomes content, right? Um, so I think the natural next step for me would be a newsletter, and see if it sticks with people. Tell them a little bit about my story, and have the newsletter be motivational, but also include something about marketing for those who want to sell their products. But yeah, I don't see myself
So
yet doing video creation.
it's fun.
Yeah.
It's awkward, but it's fun, man. You have to try it because it's totally like a different. You, it's like you don't know what it feels like until you do it, and you're like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
If you like ever just like put a camera up and you're gonna make like I'm gonna make a video about this, and it's easy. I'm just talking or doing whatever, and then you go do it. You're like, whoa, it's just a totally foreign feeling. It's just crazy how that works. It's so fun though. And then like you said, if you can just make content and do a living off that and just work for yourself and sell yourself, man, so much better than a job.
Oh, absolutely.
Way
I mean,
better.
especially when you have kids. My kids are. I have a 5-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old boy, and it's amazing. I was thinking about the other day when I could hold my newborn child, the kid, the boy, with half an arm, when he was out of the hospital, and now he's 8, and in a blink of an eye he's going to go to college. So one thing that I would like to, working for myself, is not to have a 9 to 5 restriction, that I can do client work outside of those hours, or I can do it inside of those hours, to have a good quality of life, not to work for myself and work 16 hours, but to be able to spend time with them, because really they are all that matter. I mean, they are the thing that lights up your life. They are the your motivation. Right now they're away with their mom in Mexico. They've been there for 21 days, and I'm like, you know get back. They're getting back in
Ooh.
10 days. They're getting back in 10 days. Yeah. And it's a if you think about it, if you can spend so much time working for somebody else to build their dreams, why not do it on yourself? Why don't you build your own dreams? I know there's the coziness of having a monthly salary, and we are all victims of it. I'm victim of it right now. But if you think about it, a monthly salary is just a very addictive drug. You know, it keeps you there, and it
Yeah, and
kills
it's
your
getting you
dream.
less and less now.
Yeah, exactly. And when you look at companies looking for more profitability, and lower salaries, and that they're still making billions and billions, it makes you kind of wonder if we should go back to the drawing board and redistribute the way that we work. I think it's changed a lot
Well, I
since
think
those.
some people are wired to work for other people.
What's that? Sorry.
You know, like I think some people are just wired to work for other people, and other people are wired to do their own thing. Because a lot of people, I've worked in a lot of factories and warehouses and stuff like that, and the people that usually have those jobs, they don't want to do anything themselves, right? It's just they just want to do their time, go home, drink beer, and smoke weed, and that's all they care to do for the rest of their life. No, I'm serious. It's like that's as far as their ambition goes. So it's like those people are wired to work for someone else's dream, you know? And
Yeah,
there's other people that are a little more ambitious.
but I think it's the way that they're conditioned, because many people don't give it a second thought. If they didn't go to college, they assume the worst. They assume doomsday. They assume I'm not going to be able to move forward and go get ahead in life. But many people do. Many people. I mean, look at people that start a roofing company out of nothing, and people who buy a laundromat, and people who do gardening. Some of those people become wildly successful if they know how to grow their business. But the thing is that society tells you, if you didn't go to college, you're doomed, right? You need a college degree, and you need good grades, and you need to go work for a company. uh, and the reality, Del, is that if you think a college degree is going to open all doors for you, then you better bring an axe, buddy, because you're going to have to chop down some of those doors, right? It's not as easy. It's not as easy.
Do you
But it's
think
because.
college is required for marketing?
Ooh, that's a good question. With the way that things are turning right now, you could do a marketing specialty, learn marketing in 6 months, and not have to go to college. I mean, when you go to traditional colleges, they still have traditional curriculums. Like, they're still teaching calculus in business, and you know, I don't even know when was the last time that I even thought about calculus. So, why are you teaching calculus if I'm learning business? Well, it's a discipline. Yeah, well, teach other disciplines, teach more philosophy, teach more psychology, you know instead of teaching such traditional ways of or such traditional curriculums. So, and there are a lot of good courses out there that you can do to learn marketing, and if you work in marketing early on and you apply those, you probably don't need a 4-year degree. That's the sad reality.
Well, what would you recommend people start doing uh, to learn marketing without going into college? Would they just start with copywriting, video ads? Like, what do you recommend?
Well, there are many routes that you can take, and there's a lot of free courses out there that they call it, you can audit them. Basically, you can take the whole course, but if you want the certificate, then you pay for it in Coursera and Udemy and all of these. And even some of the top universities are giving out free courses. So you can learn about it depends on which area you're gonna want to focus on, because you can focus right now on AI and learn about AI without having to step a foot inside of a classroom. You can learn about marketing, but marketing, it covers a lot of areas, right? So if you're talking digital marketing, then you have search engine marketing, you have search engine optimization, you have email automation, you have analytics, you have web page design, you have there's a many areas. So you can't just study marketing as such. I mean, you'd have to get good at something, become a specialist at it, and then work your way from there to other areas.
Ah,
That's
okay,
what I
I
would
see.
recommend.
Have you been utilizing AI?
Yeah, well, I play around with it, especially when I want to understand complex texts. It's good that because it simplifies it, and AI, if you think about it, we've all been using AI, or the precursor of AI. If you use a spell checker, that's a little bit of AI, if you will. So AI is good for, let's say, getting rid of writer's block, but it's horrible at creating text um, that sounds natural and that sounds, so I mean, I don't use it for creating my tweets or anything like that. It's just the stuff that comes out sounds so robotic.
Yeah, I've tried to write songs with Chat GPT, and they're the worst songs I've ever heard in my
Yeah,
life.
of course.
Like lyrics,
Of course.
it's terrible.
I mean, I'm sure that if you got really good at prompting them, but the thing is that the this large language models, they hallucinate, and you can start prompting them, and if you don't prompt them the right way and you just keep on adding instructions, they end up putting out shit. I mean, it's like, the term garbage in, garbage out, right? So you really need
Yeah,
to know
yeah,
how to prompt them to get. But if it's, if I get a PDF with, let's say, the requirements for entering an architecture competition, and the PDF is 60 pages long, I can prompt it to say, summarize this, give me the key points, give me potential red flags that I can find. Give me potential um, um, requirements that can get me disqualified from participating in this competition, and it sums it up in 2 pages, and I don't have to read the whole 67 pages. I mean, that's what I use it for. That's what it's good for. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's not very creative. I don't know if AI is ever going to be very creative. I may be very mistaken, but I think the human essence and the creativity, and it's that's going to be up to us for a long time.
yeah. I agree. Well, I don't know if you've have you played around with Mid Journey?
I see some coworkers do it. I've played around with Dali. Uh, but again, it's all about the prompting. Like, if I use it, the images that come out are horrible. But I know some people know how to give it the right, like
Yeah,
people who know about
it's so
photography,
fun.
right? But people who know about photography and they know the terms of photography, they are the ones that can prompt them well and get a real, like a hyper realistic image out of it, because they'll tell you, use this kind of hue, use this, whatever, right? But
Yeah,
I
that's something I had to learn. I was looking up photography terms because I seen somewhere that if you have to prompt it a certain type of lens and a certain, you know, uh,
Yep.
camera and all that. So you have to tell it what lens the picture was taken of and all this stuff. It's crazy because I knew nothing about photography, but once you start learning how to prompt it, oh my gosh, man, it is fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think AI is gonna. It's just so fun to play with, And then if you can do something, because like, it works really good with album covers. So instead of going on Fiverr and paying someone to make something on Canva that turns out I could just do myself, I can go in a Mid Journey and I can get like the craziest album cover I couldn't even imagine. It's really fun.
And chances are that the
Uh,
person
but
on
I
on
want to know
Fiverr, sorry.
what.
No, I was just gonna say that chances are
I
that the person you buy it from on Fiverr is using Mid Journey anyway.
Well, you'd think so, but the thing is, like, I paid for a couple logos for a product I was gonna try to put out, and as soon as I got the photos, the logos, I was like, I recognized right away that they made it on Canva.
Okay.
You know what Canva is, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
a logo creator, and I could have did that myself. I just paid them $100, right? I
Right.
go on Mid Journey, and I just have you type you you type in all these different prompts and you can just get endless stuff that looks nothing like something generated on Canva, you know?
Right.
And
Yeah, yeah.
it's just a game changer. I feel bad for those uh, freelancers making logos and stuff now because AI is going to take out some people.
Yeah. Well, they just need to learn how to use it and then become better logo designers and faster logo designers. They just need to leverage AI. So you see this everywhere. In fact, Del, you see AI is not going to replace other people's jobs. People that learn how to use AI are the ones that are going to replace your job, right? And that's
Yeah,
that's the way it's going to be, right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, because like you said, garbage in, garbage out. Companies are going to need to hire people that can put good stuff in to get good stuff out, right?
Absolutely.
Because the boss isn't
Absolutely.
going to want to sit there and learn that. They're just going to hire somebody. So if you
Yeah.
can learn how to prompt AI good, you still have a job.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because not only do you get better output, but you do it a lot faster,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Especially with the image generators, because like, what you gonna do? Pay someone to paint the fucking castle instead of just typing in a few words in the mid journey, you know? No, it's
Exactly.
crazy. But what services? Because you said you might be doing an email list.
Now, I
That's
might be
what you're
doing
thinking about doing.
sales copy, probably with a focus on educators, just because I worked 8 years in education, and I used to write sales copy for the universities that I worked for.
Is that easy? That sounds easy, but I know if you go to do it, it's probably not.
Well, I mean, you have to take into consideration several things. You have to edit things. You have to make sure you don't have words there that are not that are unnecessary. You have to make sure that whatever it is you're writing connects with the person, that creates a real interest in what you're selling. Because if you start writing like your 10th grade teacher, and you just write in a very academic way, you're not going to connect with the person reading it. Now you're selling an education program, so you can't be very colloquial. So you have to strike that balance between you know being assertive and projecting what it is that you want to sell, but also connecting with the reader, right? If you're selling a master's in corporate communication, you're not going to be like, yo bro, this is a program for you, right? You can't put that in a brochure. They're going to be like, what? So I mean, it takes practice, but I think anybody can learn it and anybody can get good at it. But some people don't have the
So,
time, or they don't want to do it. So that's the people that you help. The people that need help with it, they need it now. They don't, if they're gonna launch a product, if they need to send an email sequence in the next coming weeks, you're not gonna tell them, no, you can go and learn it, and just learn about copywriting, and then in 6 months you'll be able. No, I need it now. I need it yesterday, right? So
so you're going to be looking for clients that are selling educational tools online. Is that your?
either either education or products that I can deeply understand. Like if you're selling quantum computing, I know nothing about quantum computing, so I can't really help you with selling quantum computing, right? But if you're selling, I don't know, skincare, I can become very familiar with skincare and the benefits and why you should use it. I just need to know a little bit of the science behind it. Let's say if it has a special kind of ingredient that makes your skin smoother, or protects it from a certain rash, or it has a better sun blocking protection. I can work with that. So I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be education, but highly technical products can be a challenge.
I see. So where can everyone find you if they want to be your client or just follow your posts? Because you make some good posts, man. I
Oh,
mean,
thank you,
when it
thank
comes
you.
to
Well,
copy, I can see on your X profile. I was like, because I retweeted something you posted, right? Because
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah,
seeing it and I was like, oh, it got me all pumped up and inspired and stuff. I like resonated. I can't remember what it was now. I'm gonna go back and look after, but like, I was like, man, this profile is awesome. What does this guy do?
yeah. Yeah, I think it was the one that went like, newsflash: rock bottom is actually solid ground. It's a great place to rebuild.
Oh yeah, Yeah, I loved that post. That post was
Yeah,
awesome. It
yeah.
it
So
gave me it
yeah,
actually yeah, it gave
they,
me like a perspective on it that I never even thought about. And I was like, it was just such a good post. Yeah, but
thank you.
if you want
I'm
to
glad you like
send me all your links for social media, any content, if you have a website or anything, and I'll put the links below the video. And
fantastic.
yeah, people, it, they should follow you because the stuff you post is like
Thank
gets
you
me
so
all
much,
pumped
Dale.
up, man. Really good.
I re-
And
I
then
really appreciate it.
yeah, man, hopefully we can talk again soon because this was
Absolutely.
fun.
This was fun. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. I
Take
appreciate it.
take care, Dale.
Have a good one.